I'm not defer until we get more detail.
No, I don't have a problem with that either. We
I
can
just,
deal with it next week.
you guys may get a majority vote, I don't know, but I can't vote in favor of it. It wouldn't
Well,
make sense.
all I asked was, is it necessary? Because if it isn't
that's
necessary to vote
what I
right
was
now, then we can wait till we get a clearer
So
explanation.
if we're gonna back up to 40-something thousand from the October storm, or 31,
See,
if you have the
I
numbers.
tend to disagree with you on that.
45.
I disagree with that. Yeah, I disagree with you on that one, but.
I think we've heard from a finance director that DOR is not going to allow.
We aren't
it.
aware of the fact that the DOR had this requirement that they put up there until
And the
the
other
finance
thing was,
director
it
just
was-
stated that to me 10 minutes ago.
It was snow and,
I've never heard of it either.
it was snow and ice related. I mean, to me,
I've never heard of that. I've never heard that the DOR required, that said that we had to back those costs out.
We've had a finance director that stated what the DOR's position is.
To clarify, I didn't say that we had to back those costs out.
Right.
I was just stating what the Division of Local Services wrote and said, that it's snow and ice removal. So, if we have an argument that we can classify tree removal as snow and ice removal, then those charges can stay there.
I was,
Is this a recent notice that they've sent out on this?
That is not a recent notice. The recent notice that they sent out is that they are examining, as well as independent auditors are examining unallowable expenses charged to snow and ice.
Thank you.
yeah, I don't think she ever said that.
I think I would need to get.
She's just
yeah.
clarified.
So we just need to get a clarification as to
She
whether or
answered the
not.
question we asked.
Okay. But anyway, so we don't have to vote on this tonight.
No.
Right.
Okay.
I'd like to get you that information that the board is requesting.
Okay,
Good.
all right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have one other question that would help our finance committee review, is and I don't expect an answer today, but
Can you go to a microphone? We keep getting complaints from the public about not hearing
Still
people.
can't hear us at home, I got a text.
Okay. Just looking at the package that Elizabeth had handed out, in prior years, we've been spending more than 50% of the snow and ice funds on professional services, and this year, we're spending less than 30%, and I'm just wondering where the cost advantage is between overtime and professional services, and what your guidelines are with that, so that'll help next time we review it. How you make decisions between calling in people for help or using overtime.
No, Dick, I think his question is related to, does it cost us more to have employees work overtime versus bringing in a private contractor to do the job?
Right.
And I think
That's the big change in patterns I see this year.
Most contractors $60 an hour. Our highest overtime employee is $43 an hour. So it
Yes.
is more expensive to use contractors.
Okay.
No, that's not really true. That's not a fully loaded cost.
We don't use fully loaded costs.
Well, you have to. You can't use a
But
fully
they
loaded
bring
cost
their-
for
but they-
professionals.
But insurance
Oh,
doesn't
they're
cost
there
anymore.
anyway. They're there anyway.
Retirement benefit doesn't cost anymore. All the other ancillary benefits associated
You
with an
have to add it
employee.
in.
No,
You have to
that-
put a
that-
GNA on it.
Yeah,
You
but
have to
there's
put some
no
factor on it.
there's no additional cost associated with that. It's just the overtime.
Unless you're talking about, farming out the work completely and not having employees, you can't put that in.
No, we're reducing some of the maintenance costs if that $60 an hour buys you equipment too. Thank you.
No, but your strategy, you've said at previous meetings, is to use organic staff rather than go outside and get contractors.
Right, and I think that's the right path to go.
We had one horrible storm and then the October storm. We've done it all in-house. That's
And
why.
I don't disagree with it, I'm just stating that what your strategy is. And I think what the finance committee is asking is, have you done some kind of analysis to prove that that's gonna be more cost-effective for the town by using that strategy versus the strategy that we have used in the past years, when, prior to your,
I think you're going down a road that doesn't need to.
well, is that, I'm just trying to help you get an answer
Yeah,
to
I
the
was
question.
just trying to understand the
So-
big change in pattern. I understand.
there's
there's
a
I'm not
certain-
asking the
solve
question.
snow. I don't know where the advantage lies in using outside.
He's asking a legitimate question. I'm not asking it. I just think he deserves an answer.
I'll give you the cost with pay contractors and I'll give you our overtime costs.
Yeah,
In
when
the
you,
summary memo, it says.
when you talk to
see-
us
see
about it,
attached.
we'll have that discussion.
Right.
Okay, any more on this subject? And Greg,
So
it's
we have a
feasible to have,
motion before us
have
that
information,
we're gonna withdraw again.
right,
Right. We've
Greg,
withdrawn more motions than we've
there's
acted.
Well, we
no
haven't read
reason
the
why we
motion yet.
can't
Oh, I
have.
thought we
the-
had.
No, had not read it. That's why I asked.
okay,
Let's
okay.
pass over.
We have no there's no reason why we can't have the
Or
information
just-
we've requested for next Thursday?
No, I don't see why not.
Okay, fine,
And if there's a reason why I can't, I'll let you know what it is.
okay.
Thank you.
And just a quick question on this whole contractor associated thing. I understand the rate, but it just kind of sparked a memory. How do you associate the costs for the update, the upkeep on their equipment? Because we're gonna now use our equipment more by using our organic staff versus contractor staff. So don't you have to roll those costs associated with that in?
Sure.
To keep it kind of an apples to apples?
But I think you're looking at it in such a way, typically, the contractors have been brought on board to plow streets, to get them done in a reasonable period of time, where we didn't have enough resources to do it all in that period of time. Follow? So right now, we've been lucky, we've had very little snow, and most of it's been done, the town's always done the sanding and that kind of stuff.
I'm not disagreeing with any of it. I'm just trying to come up with an apples-to-apples comparison. So when you throw out a $43 rate for the town people, that doesn't include anything associated with the vehicles that we have to upkeep, because now we're using more of our vehicles versus contract vehicles. Just throwing it out there.
It's true.
I'm just trying to keep it apples to apples here, Bob. I know no one's trying to pull a fast one over on people, but you know what? If we don't analyze these and have these discussions, then we're not doing our job. I'm not telling the DPW director how to do his job. I'm just trying to understand, and I think that's what the finance committee's trying to do, is they're asking a legitimate question so they can do their analysis. But I think you need to find out what the maintenance costs now associated with vehicles and upkeep as well. It's kind of to tie it all in to make it an apples to apples.
It's difficult to do, because what are you gonna do, back out what you're not gonna have to do? How do you know?
You have to.
All right, can we move on?
I would suggest so.
All right, we have,
Well, I guess because you don't like the answer doesn't
No,
mean you
I
want to
like,
move
I
on.
like, I like the
Can
discussion,
we-
and I like the answer, I like everything. It's been a wonderful, thoughtful, insightful discussion this evening.
discuss the trash exemption policy.
Good evening. As you know, the town has been granting trash exemptions in accordance with a policy that the board had adopted back in June of 2002. And in terms of background on that individuals receive trash exemptions representing 50% of the trash fee based upon whether they fall within certain statutory exemptions under the real estate tax law, which is administered by the Board of Assessors. And one of the clauses that individuals receive a 50% exemption on their solid waste user fee has to do with the fact that they are 65 years and older and live in the community and own property in the state of Massachusetts for at least 5 years. And if that clause has been interpreted that it's not income dependent, that'd be clause 41D of the assessor statute. And one of the items that the board asked for was to consider making that in accordance with the statute, which says that that clause is dependent upon income and assets. So there's income and asset thresholds that would apply here. The income and asset thresholds are $18,425 for a single individual, $21,262 for a married individual. Assets cannot exceed $39,685 if single and $42,520 if married. If the that statutory obligation was to be interpreted, we would have approximately 5 individuals in the community that currently receive the trash exemption, 50% trash exemption that would qualify. So keep in mind, there are approximately 80, as I understand, 88 exemptions in the community, and this would bring it down to approximately 5. The total savings as a result of that would be about $10,000. Direct savings to the town.
The, getting to the fairness issue, right? this is consistent then with other exemptions.
It is. And if you had looked at how the policy should have been administered back
It
when
should have been done
this
this
should
way.
have been done back in 2002.
Oh, yeah.
One of the suggestions that was made through the Board of Assessors that we put in place was the fact that if the board wished to continue the 50% exemption for the people that meets the statutory definition for income and assets, you could do that. You can also consider a moderate approach, which gives a 25% trash exemption to those people who meet the non-income and asset, so that they meet the 65 years of age and domicile in Massachusetts and such. It's just a position for you to consider if you wish to be a little bit more generous in terms of how it is. That's up to the board.
So what is the impact of going that route?
Savings $10,000.
It's basically everybody gets the exemption, but at a lower rate,
Yeah,
a smaller exemption.
It would say that those 5 senior citizens that currently receive exemptions right now, they would receive the 50% exemption, and that the remaining seniors age 65 and older that met all of the definition except for income and asset would receive a 25% reduction in their trash fee.
And is a home considered an asset in that calculation?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Mr. Chair. Greg, is that only for seniors? Is that what I'm seeing here? If there are people within the town that are not seniors but fall below these thresholds?
There are a number of other exemptions that are granted that are not income-based. So there are other exemptions, but they are given regardless of what the income is, and that's by statute. That's by statute.
An example?
Veterans,
Mhm.
anyone who has a Clause 22 veterans exemption, it indicates that if someone's been honorably discharged, they're entitled to a real estate tax exemption. That exemption is not income dependent.
If I may just try and clarify, if someone doesn't, I'm looking strictly at the dollars, and I'm looking strictly at a family that has a house and their income levels are below this, but they are not 65 or older. That's the group that I'm looking for right now.
I think if we revert to the statutory restrictions in these instances, that's probably the way you would want to look at it. Board members?
That was
question
what
are
you
you
mentioned the first time around.
Yes.
I don't know if he was answering, I don't know if were you answering his question or my question with regard to?
I don't think he was answering yours.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
Your question is, what are the
My
income?
question has to do with individual families that are below these financial thresholds that are not statutory,
They're not
fit in the
65.
statutory requirements. So you take a single parent with kids and they have a minimal income that is below this threshold. Would they be covered
No.
under the exemption?
No. It's one of the alternatives that you could consider is establishing a higher income threshold. For example, 50% of the median income. That's up to you in terms of whether you wish to do that or not.
Okay, I'm not getting the answer, I guess. I'm not understanding it. Say a family's under the threshold and a wife and 2 kids, and they're only making $20,000 a year, all right?
They're not entitled to any exemption at all. It's a senior citizen exemption.
Okay, that was my point. So
It's
they are not
age-dependent,
covered.
It's disability, it's age, blind, surviving spouse of someone who was eligible before, or a veteran. So if they don't meet any of those 3 categories,
Can we, if we wanted to, create that category?
If you wanted to, certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly you could do that.
Because
But
there
they're
are
not
people-
getting that exemption now.
I know that.
Yeah,
and
so it's
that's
not like
part
we're
of the-
taking something away.
Right.
No, I'm.
That's a different example.
I understand that. I understand that, but there are people out there, and I know a few of them that are in a really, really bad bind.